Okay, bueno, we're back to
our election cycle.
We're back to another day in Miami.
Yeah.
And today we have none other than our Miami-Dade County Commissioner. I want to say, and correct me if I'm wrong, the youngest
Currently. And your commissioner.
And my commissioner, Commissioner Kevin Cabrera. Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Pleasure to be here. I don't have to. You don't have to call me today for the constituent complaints. You could right here.
But you're down there into South Miami?
Of course. Yeah. Well, wait,
it's unincorporated, not South Miami.
Right.
He doesn't want to pay higher taxes.
No. I am a happy unincorporated resident.
All right, so I always have a lot of questions. I know you guys know the system and government very well and the city maps and the districts. But for those people who don't know, you're part of District 6. What's incorporated in District 6?
So it's a little bit of everything. We start off in Southeast Hialeah. So everything, all of the housing buildings for the seniors and so on that are right by City Hall. And you come on down and you get all of Virginia Gardens, Miami Springs, the airport in its entirety, Flagami, Grapeland, North Coral Gables to Valencia.
Wow.
Then you skip over 67th Avenue to Palmetto all the way down to Glenver Heights. And you get Shenley Park, Coral Terrace, West Miami. And if that wasn't enough, we're going to throw a little wrinkle in there. We're going to get the Costco by the Fontainebleau area and all of the buildings in its surrounding area as well.
Damn. Okay. No, it's diverse, so...
We get a little bit of everything. Listen, we got the airport, we've got the Biltmore,
right.
We've got portions of Hialeah, we've got the future stadium.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that.
I mean, this might be a stupid question, but are district lines divided? Why is it like that? Is there can there be a more organized way? Just stop at an avenue or stop at a street and make it a square?
Well, listen, common sense is not so common in politics. But nonetheless, there are all sorts of rules that you have to follow, making sure that you keep cities compact. You have to use natural boundaries, water boundaries. So there's a little bit of rhyme and reason to it, but there's also population, right? Every time there's a census, they got to redraw it to make sure that they're all just about the same number of residents.
That there's enough representation.
Got you.
From the new census that comes.
So they build the districts based off of the amount of people that live there represent.
Yeah, so it's about 250,000, I think, residents.
I know that. I think that's
very
interesting.
Or how they move.
So every new census, you guys redistrict.
Exactly. So you could argue that even some of the coastal districts might be getting smaller as more and more people move to Brickell and to those areas where it's very dense.
Wow.
Obviously, they're not as many single family homes and so on. So that every 10 years when you do the census, that tends to alter the lines.
Incredible.
So they generally remain somewhat the same. There's some for example, where he lives previously wasn't in the district, so now it's in District 6. 10 years ago, it wasn't.
Got you.
It was District 7.
It was District 7.
That's impressive.
So again, and to Kevin's point, when I started, we were 9. There was 9 commissioners. So that gives you an idea.
At a district,
now they're 13. So it gives you more or less an idea to his point of how it's grown. And it gives you an idea how long I've been out. But I'm just saying, in the sense of from 9 to 13. You see how everything has grown in Miami-Dade County.
Yeah. Manny started with Julia Tuttle back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
Let me
a little too far back.
But listen, it's important because I think that a lot of people, and to just continue on Eddie's point, a lot of people don't understand. And this is so a question. And, sometimes one takes it for granted because I lived it, I did this. But some people don't understand, okay, how many mayors do you guys have? And who's the mayor of here? Who's the mayor of that? I have that conversation. We have that conversation with clients that come here not from Miami. They go, well, they meet, let's say, the mayor of Coral Gables. They meet the mayor of City of Miami. So, and that's something that people don't understand. And I try to explain to people, who's the mayor of this? Well, that's the mayor of Dade County. So then I think it's important for people to understand, and I try to explain it to people, the real, and no disrespect to all other, municipalities or whatever, but the real big kahuna is really Miami-Dade County.
Yeah.
Because Miami-Dade County is the one that, is the umbrella. And then, elaborate a little bit on the fact, though, so people understand that.
So in Miami-Dade, you've got roughly 3 million people. Half of the county, just a little under half, is unincorporated, which means that there is no city. The county government does both the regional in terms of airport, seaport, transportation, and local stuff like trash, stuff that normally your city would do, potholes and those sorts of things. There are 34 cities within the county. There's 34 cities, roughly the same amount of police departments, and I think about 7 or 8, if not more, fire departments.
Right.
And in those 34 cities, the largest being the city of Miami, then you've got Hialeah, you've got Miami Gardens, Miami Beach. Those are kind of the larger ones that everybody knows about. But you've got 34, some on the smaller side, some on the larger side. But then again, like you said, then you have Miami-Dade County. Miami-Dade County represents the entire county and handles all sorts of regional things: airport, seaport, transportation, water and sewer, elections, police, fire. So it's like you
The
said,
real important
like
stuff.
you said, it's
Yeah.
kind of it employs over 30,000 people.
That's huge.
So again, it's a mammoth, right?
Yeah. I was going to ask, for those people who maybe are not very clear on what the role of a commissioner is, the commissioner is usually, Manny always tells me, he's one of the most important people, like when you're electing in, like they're the ones that are really going to change your actual community, and they have the most know-how and they make direct touch points with the people. What is like your day-to-day, or what's your overall objective when it comes to representing your district?
So what I tell people is, they say all politics is local, and that's really what it is. And I'm not saying that at the federal level and at the state level they don't affect your daily lives, but there are things that we do here that could affect your day the very next day. We decide property tax rates, we do potholes, we decide the speed limit. All those sorts of things are controlled by your local government. The water and sewer rates, the trash rates.
Oh.
These are all things that again, you change them today, tomorrow they affect you. The bus routes. All these sorts of things are done by your local government.
Metro Rail.
Exactly. Your transportation methods. So again, it goes to the importance. Well, what's a typical day like? Well, when we're not hanging out with you doing interviews, which there are a ton of interviews, because I think it's important.
Yeah.
To be forward facing. It's important to be respondent, to constituents. But it all depends on the day. Today we started off at 9 a.m. doing a farm share distribution with residents in an area where they're a little bit more underprivileged, and we were handing out food to them.
Yeah, praise on that, because I know you guys do a lot on that, and you always ask for volunteers, and that's a great cause that you guys do.
That's good.
And it's important. Listen, we know people are going through difficult times. Some have to work 2 and 3 jobs. Others are retired, right? And your Social Security and pensions don't go up at the same rate as the cost of living. So this is a little bit of help, so you could put some food on the table. But again, every day is different. Sometimes, a few days ago we had a town hall. I'm a big believer in doing town halls, and everybody's a little bit different. And we'll do town halls, and we'll be there for about 2 hours answering questions, which I think is the best part of this, right? Because that's how you really get a sense for what's going on in the community.
100%.
Yeah.
Is talking to people in the community.
Right. And to that point, I really think that, and I was going to talk about the town halls. I mean, town halls have existed so long, right? But at the same time, I think that this platform that we try and do, that's what we call this a day in Miami, and this is really one of the biggest reasons why we even started this, because we said, a lot of people always want to know what's going on in Miami.
Yeah.
And I think that the platform that we set here, we bring people, you'll get, listen, after this interview, you get comments from people that don't like this or don't like
It's been
that.
a rough week with
But
that.
that's fine.
That's democracy.
That's right. But at the end of the day, we bring people to explain their part. Because, for example, town hall meetings, okay, not everybody can go to the town hall meeting. People that work to certain times or whatever. So we like to bring in, our local community leaders to go ahead and explain. We get questions. We send out first. We say, hey, we're going to have the Commissioner Cabrera here. We're going to have Mayor Cava or whatever. People send in questions to go ahead and ask. But I think it's so important for people, if they really want to know what's going on in the county, you got to get involved. And that's the same thing I told the other commissioner we had here. Because a lot of people bitch about something and oh, this is going on, this is going. Call your local commissioner, talk to staff. I'm telling you, people will respond.
Yep.
People will go ahead and give you, a reason of what's happening. They'll try and explain, or they will try and help.
And I'll start off with that. Our phone number, 305-267-6377. Give us a call.
Yeah.
305-267-6377. If you have any issues, give us a call. Even if it's not a local issue, we'll connect you with the right person at the federal, state government to try to help you out.
How about if they try to send you a DM?
slide into the DMs. We'll take that too. But what I will tell you is what's the most frustrating sometimes is when we do these town halls and you talk to people and you ask them, have you ever reported this issue to your earlier report? The answer is usually no. They say, no, I've had this pothole here for 10 years. And I say, well, have you ever said anything? And the answer is usually no. Or I have this other issue. And I'm like, have you ever reported it? And the answer is no. Yeah. And I tell people, unless you report it, we don't know what's happening. We can't fix it. And ideally, in a perfect world, we know everything that's happening. Yep. but it's a big county. There's over almost 3 million people. So you are eyes and ears out there reporting things back, and it's our job to be responsive and making sure that they're addressed within a timely manner.
Yeah, I mean, I have a huge pothole in front of my neighborhood. We have a gated fence in the neighborhood.
You had the
And I see,
commissioner,
and I know,
you
and, no, but it was,
all-
well, ours is Anthony. This is Chen.
Listen, we're putting him on blast here. Anthony, you got a puddle, man.
Huge.
You
That's
got to
one
fix.
By the golf course.
That's a
And
great
what
guy.
the worst part is that I know these things, and I see it. I'm like, someone else is gonna report it.
Yeah.
Someone
Right,
else is
but
gonna
you see,
report it.
that's the
But
problem.
no,
You got to report
Correct.
it. You got to report it because a lot of times, again, we don't know about it. And if we don't know about
you're
it, we
right.
can't
You're right.
fix
You're
it.
right. I gotta report
listen,
that.
That'll probably be reported after this comes out.
Like speeding, right? Like I know a certain gentleman that lives in Glenver Heights that goes out every morning in his bathrobe.
For real,
He goes out in his bathrobe
I know him too.
to stop people that are speeding through his neighborhood. He reported it, and we've been able to put some traffic calming devices
Well, but
to try to slow things down.
that's a point I want to talk about, because I think there's just a lot of people that view this program. I think everybody has to deal with the sense of traffic. And,
Yep,
and we
it's pretty
know
bad.
it. I'm these, I know I bitch about that and stuff like that. I'm the first one. I'm not going to be a hypocrite. We all cut. Everybody cuts. I mean, everybody tries to cut around different areas to try to avoid traffic, especially now in the world of Waze and Google Maps. Go here, go there.
Yeah, Waze has killed the sleepy neighborhood.
You know,
they've shown you the way of cutting.
Waze has Waze it for you. But I'm just saying that we have to have also, and I'm for it. And again, like I tell you, but there has to be something that you do in neighborhoods that people, when I say, are walking their kids, riding bikes, they're walking their dog. My area has no sidewalks. Okay, so basically you're in the street, and then some people will just ignore the 30 mile per hour. And again, I don't mind you cutting. If you want to cut, that's fine. I do it. But when I cut through different areas around to come to the office, I gotta go through the Gables. But I'm respecting the speed limit in the Gables, the roundabout, something like that. Some of these people just go 50 mile per hour because everybody's in a hurry for somewhere. And I just say, I know it's tough because the police, they can't do it. What do you think could be the future in the fact of trying to calm down the streets around the area?
Well, a few different things. Besides putting traffic calming devices, which are speed bumps and these roundabouts.
But some people don't like them.
Some people don't like them.
Yeah.
And the funny part is that a lot of the times, and I think you've experienced this in your neighborhood, one neighbor will say, we want speed bumps.
Yeah.
But then when we do the survey, because by ordinance, we have to make sure that everybody's on board,
Correct.
especially the ones that are in front of the speed bump.
Yeah.
They'll say, no, I don't want that.
Right.
So I tell everybody the best thing to do, even before reporting it to us, is make sure that your neighbors are on board if what you want is a speed bump or a traffic circle. Because if they're against it and you don't have some sort of unanimity, it's very hard. But something else we've done is I passed an ordinance that we actually just got back the results where we're lowering the speed limit. And in residential areas and areas that abut places where kids congregate, schools, obviously not on main arteries, to 25 miles an hour. Yeah. Because what we've seen is Coral Gables, West Miami, City of Miami, and many other municipalities, South Miami, have lowered it to 25. But then the county has 35. So there are areas where, again, where it's tricky that you're traveling, through South Miami, but every other block you might be in the county or a different municipality.
Yeah.
So you're going 25, 35, 35, 25. So it's very inconsistent.
That's sunset.
Yeah.
Besides the fact that I think the lower you put it, hopefully the slower people will drive. So we had to do a report as part of the state statute to lower it, where the police had to come out and do a whole study on if it was feasible.
Yeah.
It's come back that it is, and we're going to be lowering the speed limit throughout the next year or so to 25 miles an hour in all residential areas and streets that abuts recreational areas, parks, schools, as long as it's obviously not a main artery.
I was going to ask you something regarding the traffic patterns and the street lights. Is there a main headquarters where all that is managed?
Yes. So one of the things I've actually done is, we're actually revamping our automated traffic synchronization. We're making it smart. We're making sure that we're bringing new technology. One of the most frustrating things, and it was actually brought to me by Vice Mayor Rhonda Anderson from Coral Gables regarding the lights on Lejeune, is that you're at a red light, but then you see a green light and the following one. And then when you get the green light, then now you get the next red light. So, is this going to shave off an hour off your commute? No. But it could probably shave off, 5-10 minutes and also reduce, the headache.
I think if you guys, and I forgot who was it that told me this, and it was really smart. If you guys are somehow incorporate artificial intelligence into knowing and then that thing has like,
So
it can create its own patterns. Like let all the avenues go, let all the streets go.
So we're doing that, and I can tell you that a few years ago there was a contract that was passed, a very hefty contract, and the folks didn't deliver. They had over 5 years and they hadn't done anything. They were blaming COVID, which is funny. Your work's outside. I'm not sure how it's COVID's fault, but okay, nonetheless. But it's one of these things that we have been hearing about traffic lights being synchronized since he worked in the commission, which we know that was like 50 years ago.
That's my boy.
So it's something.
He looks good, man. Look, he looks fresh. Look
No, listen, just for a minute.
The other day, he got
job.
compliments on the watch. The other day, somebody said, "I like the watch."
So, we've been talking about this a long time, but we haven't actually brought solutions. So now we were able to get rid of the company that was not performing. We're going to put in a company that is performing, a company that did the pilot program, the only section of the system that actually works. We're hoping to get this across the finish line shortly. And again, start to deliver results for our community. And I think it goes to a broader question, which I think is now, since we've had term limits in place, I think what you see is a sense of urgency. Right, we know we've got 8 years, and we know we got to get things done.
I love it. Yeah, it's great.
When I tell you have 30 years to do something, why start today?
Right.
And I think, and again, I'm not trying to put any shade on the previous folks.
No, at all.
I think they did many great things, but I think in many other aspects, there wasn't that sense of urgency that there is now with this new commission. That I think we're pushing forward on a lot of new things.
That's 100%. Now, keep on that part. What about? I know there's a system in play in California that when you go down the streets, the cameras. California has all the residential areas in the entrances. They have these cameras. That
Big Brother.
If you're going 50 miles per hour, boom, you get a ticket. Now look what's going on with all the, with the school buses that they have the cameras. Around the school areas.
It's hard to justify wanting to speed through a school zone.
No, I get it.
Whoever wants to do that, but there's a special place somewhere for you.
Right. I think that is a double-edged sword. The cameras on every angle, and they're monitoring everything. And I'll tell you why.
I have my own.
No.
Oh, well, I don't doubt it.
But I'll tell you why.
A few right here, right?
I was in Colombia, and when you're on the highway, they have cameras that give tickets. And recently, they dropped the speed limit on the highway to like 40 kilometers per hour. And so which is really slow. It's probably like 35 miles, 40 miles per hour here on the highway. So now everyone's getting tickets because you have a big highway that's open. Sometimes when there's no traffic and people just speed through, and they've used it.
But it's the same thing in Europe. In Europe, I've been getting tickets for 7 years. I've already been divorced from the wedding I went, and I'm still getting tickets because they have these automated things on the highway that follow you, and they keep giving you tickets. Now, hopefully, they won't extradite me to Italy, but
not a bad place to go if you have to, by the way. So, all right. So then basically, I'm thinking, I would really think into that. I would love to get the feedback of the people, what they think, because especially in the streets, I know everybody has a problem with the residential area and the fact of the speeding. And I know that some neighbors go, I don't like the speed humps. I don't understand.
Well, you need something, right? There has to be some deterrent. And the deterrent can't be you outside at 7 o'clock in the morning.
That is me. That is me. You pass by my block, you're going to see me. But at the end of the day, all I'm saying is there's things being in place, right? There's
absolutely, and we're trying to move forward again to provide solutions, right? Because what I see a lot is, as somebody who was part of the small crowd that would watch the government channel and the old county commission meetings, you don't want.
It used to be fun.
You don't want to hear when people used to threaten to send people home in body bags, right? You don't want to keep hearing about the issues, but rather you want to see solutions, which I think is what we're trying to do here and do quickly.
Would that be countywide or just your district? Because you can only
it would be countywide. It would be countywide. The county has jurisdiction over the traffic synchronization.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
So you talk about, you were saying earlier that you've seen the history of politics. How did you get into it? Like, why'd you pivot into this? So it's like your origination. So
it's very interesting. As a little kid, I always wanted to be in politics. Like this is somewhat of an embarrassing story, but my mom is my corroborator here. When I was little, she used to be like, "Oh, do you want to come to Publix?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll go with you." But I'd be like, "I gotta go get dressed." And she's like, "What?" So then I'd come out and I'd be wearing a suit and I have my grandfather's briefcase, and she'd be like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "Well, one day I'm running for office. So if I run for office, I got to make sure when people see me, I'm in a suitable manner. Like they can't just see me out here in like basketball shorts."
Yeah.
But I've always had a passion to serve since a very young age. But I never knew how to get it. My family's not necessarily politically oriented. My mom's worked in the medical field for many years, and my dad in airline catering. Nothing to do with politics.
Right.
And,
I'll talk to him about that case situation. I got to bring him on the show.
But, I didn't know how to get involved, and I had a few friends that started telling me, well, you should go to the local party, So back in 2008, I went, started knocking on doors in a presidential race, and started meeting people, and it's all about networking in life, right? It's not necessarily what you know, but who you know.
Yep.
And there's really not a place where you send your resume in politics. That's not quite how this works. So I volunteered for a few years on a few different races, and before I knew it, in 2014, Congressman Corbello was then a school board member running for Congress. And he was running against Joe Garcia, who I ended up working with many years later. But at the time, I wasn't too happy with him being my congressman.
Right.
So I decided to go knock on doors. And I knocked on doors for about a month. He offered me a job. It was a terrible job at the time. Financially, it was a horrible decision. A lot less money, 1099, no benefits. I hope I'm not trying to get him in trouble here with OSHA or something, but it wasn't
the dream job.
Field work is not for the faint at heart. Knocking on doors and putting signs at 2 a.m. is hard work.
It is.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that sounds a little bit fun,
And I left working in freight forwarding, where I had a great job moving aircraft parts all over the world for whether it be landing gear, what have you. It was a really cool job. And I left that to go do this. And my mom was like, "You're crazy, está loco."
But you went to school here in Miami, and
born and raised here. Went to Miami-Dade College and to FIU.
But high school?
South Miami.
South Miami.
Home of the Cobras.
Nice.
And whoever's a Cobra, we're working on putting the Cobra back on the roof. It's been gone for some years, but we're bringing it back.
Damn, you heard it here first.
That was our biggest rival when I went to high school, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, but so I got involved, worked with him. He ended up winning, became his director of constituent services. Then a few years later on, an opportunity came calling to work for Governor Bush when he ran for president. That didn't quite work out the way we thought,
right?
At the time, and then I went into government relations and stuff like that, and then I went to work for President Trump in 2020. I was his state director for Florida.
Nice.
I tell everybody, I go, it sounds like a great job, but it was a very hard job. 250 staffers, 48 offices, $40 million budget, a lot of work. I tell everyone I would do it all over again, but I probably would not do it again because it was, it was definitely a hectic.
It is.
And I think running a presidential race during the pandemic is something that we'll never see again.
Yeah.
Imagine you have people knocking on doors one day, and the next day you're not allowed to knock on doors, and we have to do Zoom meetups and things like it was a lot of thinking outside the box.
Very challenging,
but the best experience I've ever had. And the honor of our lifetime to work for President Trump. And after that, went back into doing some government relations stuff. And then this opportunity arose, ran, and it's been almost 2 years. In a few weeks, it'll be 2 years. And it's been the experience of a lifetime to serve the residents of Miami-Dade County, of District 6. And honestly, I wake up every day happy to go to work.
Right.
Because I think when you do what you love, you're not working.
100%. So on that note, give me some challenging situations right now that the Dade County Commission is challenging, maybe the airport.
Well,
what's going on with the airport?
Okay, so the airport, I would say, just as everybody else and just as everybody who's watching, are we happy with the state of the airport, with the escalators, with the elevators, with the moving walkways? No. Obviously, it's unacceptable. But what I can tell you is that we are making changes and we are moving forward. I sponsor an item that's going to change all of the escalators, all of the elevators, all of the moving walkways within the next couple of years. Unfortunately, it's not something you can do from one day to another. Yeah. A lot of these units are 40 years old. Its lifespan is 20. So you're 20 years past its lifetime. Of course, they're going to break down. But what I can tell you is we've put into place new systems to make sure that there's maintenance in the evenings that didn't exist before, maintenance on the weekends that didn't exist before, maintenance around the clock. And making sure that we put in these new units. Like, for example, one of the places that had the worst state of the escalators and elevators was the garages. And we're currently replacing 7. Within the next 6 months, we have brand new 7 elevators in the garages that will be functioning, working to make sure that not just our passengers, but our workers have functioning.
How many people got stuck on those elevators and missed flights? Yeah. That was...
Ron DeSantis came out saying that he was trying to take over the airport if it was going to continue like that too, no?
Yeah. What I can tell you is that we're making progress.
Yeah.
We've heard you. We're listening to you. And we're making the necessary changes. We're replacing all the passenger loading bridges. So when you're loading the plane, when you're loading the plane and deplaning, you have a nice glass view. You can see onto the airfield. You're not in this claustrophobic little thing that has a broken AC. Okay. So again, I
like that.
The bathrooms. I know a lot of folks have complained about the bathrooms. Well, we're replacing all of the bathrooms. We've done 25 out of over 200.
Okay, good.
And we're well on our way to, making a crack at that number every single year. So again, our goal is that within the next year or two for you to see an airport that's completely different. Central Terminal.
That's really smart because when Cava talked to us about it, I felt when she didn't give me like those type of details. I mean, I felt like it was going to be a longer plan, what she was saying. But now you're talking about a little bit more nuanced with it. It's good. People were asking.
Longer plan, but there's things going
on right now.
To do 200 bathrooms is.
Yeah, and what I will say is, at the end of the day, a lot of the problems that you face is that usually, as you know, having worked in government, deferred maintenance is not sexy. People want to cut ribbons to new terminals and new things, and a lot of times deferred maintenance falls by the wayside. And the amount of money that we've invested now as a commission into deferred maintenance, from the administration of Daniela Levine Cava to the entire commission, it's an unprecedented amount of money that we put into fixing deferred maintenance and to changing some of these things. Again, elevators is not something people like talking about. Somehow I've now become obsessed with it, making sure which ones are working, which ones are not, and making sure we make progress towards that every single day. Yeah. But what I can tell you is, I even find it funny, quite frankly. I see some of the posts online now. They take pictures of the escalator and they put the other one. And they say, oh, my God, what is this that they're putting next to it? Well, news for you. It's the new escalator that's being planted right next to it as we switch it out. So it's progress.
Well,
progress is being made.
Listen, this is the power of social media. That's what you're going to get now. I mean, hopefully we don't see any more antifreeze, leaking down.
Yeah, that was really weird, and nobody even knows what happened there. But
that was Ghostbusters. Yeah, slimed.
I mean, but listen, social media pushes the needle now. It helps people.
Before, what holds people accountable?
Yeah,
before you had to wait and hope that Walter Cronkite talked about it. Now
you got everyone just taking pictures, posting, what's going on?
Correct. To a certain point, is okay. Yeah. To his point, give me a chance.
Correct.
And what I can tell you again is we're working. We hear you, and we're definitely working on fixing it. And we don't want to blame anybody, put any excuses. We're just going to tell you that we're going to get the job done.
You said something earlier, which I'm not 100% sure when I started, when I didn't. Term limits. Is that something new in the commission now, or has that been there for a while? Talk a little bit more about the term limits that the commission has.
So it passed in 2011, but in their infinite wisdom, they grandfathered themselves in. Right, so then they did another 8 years. So when I was elected roughly 2 years ago, was the second wave of having term limits actually take effect.
Gotcha.
4 years ago, half of the commission was replaced, and when I was elected 2 years ago, the other half was replaced.
Gotcha.
So right now, the person who's served the longest is Eileen Higgins, who actually hasn't really been there a whole lot in comparison to the folks that were there previously.
I mean, you have people there for 30-some years. So.
Exactly. Wow. Which, again, listen, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that there wasn't a lot of good that was done, but I think in these sorts of positions, it's important to inject fresh blood and new ideas and new perspectives.
I totally agree. And being one of those people that was there when term limits did not exist, you have to have it because people get comfortable.
Yeah.
And to your point, instead of saying, okay, I'll start that in 4 years. I'll start that at the end of the term because I'm going to come out again. No.
Yeah, because you need something to campaign on.
And by the way,
that's what I'm saying. So,
they shouldn't just stop here. We should have them in Congress as well.
I think so.
The fact that I don't, and it's very, I'm going to hit this in a bipartisan way. I don't care if you're Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Mitch McConnell, 100%. Whoever you are. If you've been there 40 years, that's way too long.
Yeah, it's way too long.
That's way too long. Too many stock tips already.
Yeah.
Nancy, call me. Give me the
Nancy Pelosi index. The Nancy Pelosi index is the best one to follow.
No, that's the best one. No, pause. I just follow them. That's it.
That's it.
Everybody keeps on thinking you don't need a stockbroker. Just go online and follow the guy's things, or you'll be good. You're golden.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think they sold Visa.
They're better than Warren Buffett.
Yeah, they sold Visa. Now DOJ's investigating Visa 2 days later. I don't know, but anyway, that's another podcast. So, Kevin, give me also a little bit of. I know that the stadium falls within your district. Again, I know the stadium is City of Miami. That's City of Miami with the City of Miami commissioners, Francis Suarez. But the county also oversees a whole bunch of what happens with the stadium. What do you feel is going to be the biggest pro and plus with the stadium?
Okay, so a few things to unpack here. Yeah. One, I tell everybody, because I know some folks are on one side or the other of the stadium, but I said there was a vote, and over 60% of the residents in the area voted for the stadium. So I'm a big believer in democracy.
Good.
So besides that, I will say that it's going to bring a lot of jobs. It's going to bring thousands of jobs to our community. And in addition to the excitement now that's coming, we're getting FIFA in 2026. I know that some of the practice games are going to be played there, but it's the excitement that's being generated as this new franchise. Right now they're playing in Fort Lauderdale, but they'll be moving down once the stadium is built. And it's the excitement about Miami, right? It's everybody it's again another notch, another feather in Miami's cap of one more thing that we're doing to continue to be a global city, to continue to be a gateway of the Americas, to continue to be the hottest city right now in the entire world, where everybody wants to be, because that's what we are right now.
So earlier you kind of gave us some nuances on like the details with the airport. Do you have like some nuances on the stadium, like where they are right now in planning phase? When are they starting construction? When are they breaking ground? Like
so I think they've broken ground on a few things, but one of the things that we're focused on, from a county perspective, because again, like you mentioned, it's city land. The city is the one leasing it. They kind of have come to that agreement. But our job is to make sure that transportation works, that the egress and degress work. Right? We don't want to create any sort of chaos as folks go to the airport, and that's why we're working closely with them, with FDOT, which is the Florida Department of Transportation, and with the highway system to make sure that whatever traffic study and plan that they have in place is one that minimizes any sort of impact on folks going and coming from the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, traffic is. You're talking about the fact that that's going to be right there.
Dead center.
Dead center. Now, I'm all for all that because to this point, Miami is, like I always call this is Miami, USA. This is not Miami, Florida. This is Miami, USA. We're our
own country, yeah.
And you now having this stadium here, we have everything from that baseball to football to the F1. I mean, I know that some people complain or this or that, but come on, you live in such a metropolitan, cosmopolitan,
super diverse.
That you having this here is, I think, is huge, huge, huge news. And again, to your point, jobs. I think the fact that it'll really help so many people that say I need something different.
Yeah. What I like about it too is that it's feeling like they're connecting communities. Like Coral Gables, I love it because you get to walk outside and you see people. Hey, how are you? Etc. You feel that small town feel in a big city. That park is going to connect to the bridge and then to the underline under the river. So you're going to be able to walk, from what I've seen, and have like an area where families can congregate, go to a park, like kind of like a Central Park in like New York, We don't have that here.
Well, it's going to have the largest park in District 6 and probably the second largest in the county public park. They're building it and then they're turning over the keys to the city of Miami. So it's going to have a huge public component in that sense, where folks can go with their families, enjoy it. This is not something that's going to cost anything. But rather an amenity for the city of having a very large and plush park that helps, also towards the tree canopy and those sorts of things to try to keep it cool, a little bit, the weather a little bit cooler here in our town.
Yeah, because you go to a lot of like other cities around the world and they all have these very, very, very nice parks where families go, take a stroll through, eat an ice cream, etc. And I feel like in Miami we don't have that yet.
And I think this will help, start move the ball in that direction.
Yeah, that's nice.
I mean, what more do you want? We have what more do you want here in Miami now?
I don't know, like a nice like Central Park style thing, like where you can go and.
I heard we're going to put a Central Park.
I heard Tropical Park was going to get changed and renamed to Miami Park, and that they're going to start doing like nice things in there too.
I haven't heard that yet, but Tropical Park, I think, is the second largest after Amelia Earhart in the park system. But again, this will be, I think, it might be bigger than Tropical Park, the one being built at the stadium. But again, it'll be a public park. It'll be part of our another amenity to our residents. Nice. And I think it's so important to continue to have these sorts of things, especially as we get more people. Right, we're continuing to grow every day with more folks moving in.
Correct.
So we want to make sure that we don't have our parks at capacity.
Yeah. We'll have the comment that people are going, more damn traffic. Everything has more damn traffic.
New York.
That one's coming.
New York or Florida.
That one's coming. But we have a plan for that, right? There is a plan in place for that.
Absolutely. We have the SMART plan, which again we're continuing to draw down. I think this year we got over $100 million. I know Commissioner Eileen Higgins works very hard at that, at getting money down from the feds. And we're working to implementing all the different corridors to continue to try to ease that traffic congestion.
Okay. I want to move to another little subject that I know it's a little whatever, but I think that it's important. We have seen, I mean, this is just me, and then, so I think about this because he has a daughter, I have a daughter. Every time my daughter tells me, I'm going here, I try to explain to her, the things that are happening in the community. There's the whole bunch of stuff, and we've had other people talk about that. We had Mayor Lago talk about that. The whole thing with the human trafficking. I want you to elaborate a little bit because some people think that's not really going on in Miami.
So it happens at all the major port cities, and the more large events you have, that's one of the misfortunes, right? That comes with that, with like anything like a Super Bowl or stuff like that.
I didn't think
I don't know if you saw the drop, but I just wanted to emphasize on that. Something happened. Where was that stadium or something that somebody was trying to? One of the girls that came to the bathroom and they were trying to take her from right there from the girl who was just in the bathroom getting the concession stand or something.
I haven't heard about that one yet, but I will say is that it's one
not
of
here. It was in somebody else.
it's one of the things that comes with having these large events. And again, it's about making sure that we're working with the state attorney's office. I know this is a huge thing for our state attorney, Kathy Fernandez-Rundle. They've been focusing on it for years. Making sure in the airports and the bathrooms. A lot of people say, well, what are you solving by putting the phone number in the bathroom or putting a way to notify in the bathroom? Well, the bathroom many times is the only place that if you're being human trafficked, that you're going to end up by yourself. Good point. They publicly they can't go in there with you. That'd be a little. So again, it's about making sure we have information in place where folks know how to report it if they're being trafficked, making sure we have awareness, making sure we're investing more. We've, for now 2 years in a row, we've worked with the mayor's office to invest over $1 million in enhancing our police departments working on human trafficking. And a lot of these corridors around our district that we think these things might be happening in, we're, again, putting more bodies. Because ultimately, the best way to combat this, there's not some technology that's going to help you to do it. You need more bodies. You need more police bodies in the field doing police work. And that's what we've done. We've tried to strengthen that to make sure that we have a good front there to get it stopped.
Yeah, you mentioned that you had that town hall. What would you see, or what was the biggest issue that people had, or what was their biggest worry when they were speaking to you?
So this particular one was in the Little Gables area, and it was at one of the parks. And we're redeveloping the park. So again, part of yes, the commission can decide on their own what they're going to do with the park, but I think it's important to have community input.
100%.
So we were there about a few hours with our parks department, showing them renderings of what we're thinking of doing. And by the way, these are renderings that we've gotten this far in the process with input already.
What park is it?
San Jacinto Park.
San Jacinto.
So it is, I think, the third meeting we've done, and we've got one final meeting where we're going to put the rest of the ideas all together on paper in renderings so that the community has involvement in what we eventually put in that park. And again, it's about enhancing the park, making it better, making it more walkable, making it more friendly and safe for the families in the area.
You have to put more places here for the families.
People to hang out.
During COVID, the good thing about COVID was that everybody was on their bikes.
Yeah.
There was no cars in the street.
Yeah.
It was dead. But now everything's back to normal again. I have like 7 bikes in my garage that nobody uses anymore. But now at the same time, you're saying you wish you had those moments again, because I would go with my kids. I mean, you didn't have a problem. Watch it with the car. You were just
correct. Right.
You saw so many people walking on the streets. It was such a great feeling.
Well, if we learned anything during COVID, is the importance, not just for your mental health but for your physical health, to be out in the green areas, enjoying time with your families, exercising, and so on. I think that was one of the positives. Right, we really got to stop, take a breather, and really enjoy those sorts of things.
No, we took a huge breather.
Yeah, huge. It was almost a 2-year breather.
That was a huge breather.
I was going to ask you, what are your opinions or what are your thoughts on the sheriff race? Do you have any, how do you feel like that's going to change the dynamic here? Or?
I think it's not just the sheriff's race. It's all of the constitutional offices that's happening right now. When you talked about earlier, one of the biggest issues or problems potentially facing the county, I would say that's one of them, right? It's a new structure after almost our entirety of time working in one way. Now we're going to have to work in a different way. And the different, budgetary wise, we're hoping that a lot of these folks stay with the same HR and back office systems of the county, right? Because if we're self-insured, right? Any enterprise that has over 30,000 employees, you're likely self-insured. It ends up being cheaper, right? But if now you start plugging away, 5,000 employees for the sheriff's office, 1,000 for this other office, 1,000 for the tax collector's office, that could implicate what the rates are for us and for the rest of our employees as well. So that's the worrisome part.
That's what I'm saying, and that's important that people really don't understand.
Yeah. It's the economies of scale.
Yeah, because now to the commissioner's point. Remember, you have the sheriff reporting to the county. To let's say, you can say
to the mayor directly. No.
Well, technically, the mayor is the sheriff per se.
They're their bosses.
They're signed.
Okay. Now the sheriff is like his own person. So. Who would the sheriff report? Still report to also the county commission?
They report to the residents. Ultimately, budgetary wise, that's where we have say, right? We still have to pass the budget for the sheriff's office for all these other offices as well. So I think that's where you have some checks and balances. Ultimately, I think this was a terrible idea. I don't think you need more elected officials. I don't know anybody in the world that would argue that you need more people elected. I think people probably want less elected officials.
Yeah.
But
what was the reason behind it then?
Well, but it really was overwhelmingly passed.
It was overwhelmingly passed, but when you look at the ballot question, it was very interesting. It didn't just say, do you want to like this? It said, do you want to create a global terrorism office? Do you want to protect this?
Yes. You want to protect? The one that you say yes is really the no, and the no is really the yes.
It says, do you want a global terrorism office? Do you want to protect veterans? And do you want to elect every single constitutional officer all in one question? Yeah, well, who would say no?
Yeah, of course.
Guess what? You just voted for that shit.
Who in the right mind would say no? No one.
Well, that's so important because there is a lot of ballot questions and there's a lot of amendments and stuff like that. I always say to people, you really got to read that. You got to read it because if you don't understand it, try and go and get somebody that you follow, that you admire, that you like, and see how they're going and voting in that side.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the most important things because people focus so much on the candidates, but they forget about the ballot initiatives. And by the way, you start from the national level to the state 100%. Level, to the local level, you've got all sorts of things on the ballot. One of the most important ones, I will say, somewhat, self-serving for anybody who has a homestead, is the homestead exemption one, right? Right now, your homestead exemption is $50,000, right? And it doesn't change. For it to change...
If you get married, it does, though, no?
No, homestead exemption.
Homestead exemption.
Gotcha. You're talking about like your property tax.
No, homestead exemption isn't it where you have... if you're single, it's $50,000, and if you're a married couple, it gets $100,000. It duplicates.
No. But maybe you may be onto something.
Yeah,
here. I don't know who your accountant is, but I want
Colombia.
I want your accountant.
Okay, if I count his accountant.
But what I will say is that you have right now it's $50,000,
right?
And if you want to raise it, you have the legislature has to pass a law, then it has to go on the ballot, then the voters have to approve it. So it's very, very laborious to do it. So I think now by tying it to inflation, every year it goes up.
I like
right?
that.
So this year inflation was 4%. This year homestead exemption goes up 4%.
But was that passed?
No.
That's on the ballot right now.
I didn't know that. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, listen, we got the guy that can go ahead and explain it a little.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
he's explaining it to the people. And I think that's an elaborate.
Do you know how that's going to be phrased in the ballot? Or
it says basically to tie the homestead exemption to inflation.
Gotcha. Okay.
What is that one? Amendment what? That's
I don't have the list in front of me, which maybe that's what we should have done. We should have had the list out here.
Are you saying we weren't really prepared?
That might be true, but it's okay. I'll rate you later.
Come on. Before the thing is over, we'll find out. We have our guys here to find out.
Yeah, do we have that? Jesse, what amendments do you have? Actually, I know where they're at. I have them here on the last post. I got it. I got them all.
The amendments are I don't know which one is without one of the
Wait, I think I have the Florida amendment still.
No, I got it. But I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. You got the abortion one. You have the which one is the other one? You have the 4. Which one is 4? And then you have I don't remember what the other one is, but we'll figure it out. But we can continue.
Yeah,
we can continue with that. But that's important to know because a lot of people now, when they see this show, believe it or not, there's so many people that
here. Amendment 1 changes school board elections. Right. 2 provides the state constitutional right to hunt and fish. Right. 3 legalize recreational marijuana.
Right. That's the other big
one. Yeah. That's a biggie. 4 provide for a state constitutional right to abortion. And then 5 provide for annual inflation adjustments. That's what it is. So it's Amendment 5.
That's that one. Yeah. And listen, some of them, for example, the school board making them partisan races. Well, I'm a Republican, right? That might help in other parts of the state, but in an urban core like Miami-Dade, I think that hurts us. And I think that, again, it goes to continuing to politicize, these sorts of races that maybe shouldn't be politicized, right? Personally, I don't think the sheriff's race should be partisan. I don't think that the state attorney's race should be partisan. I don't think the public defender should be partisan. Clerk of court should be partisan. None of these should not be. They should not be. None of these races should be partisan.
State county commissioners aren't.
They're not partisan.
Yeah, you could make an argument for us to be more partisan than any of the ones I just mentioned, right?
Even though, it's so funny you just say that because I feel that now these county commission positions, everything have become more partisans. It's like even though you're not putting, Republican, Democrat, Independent, or whatever, but people say, "Oh, what is he? Yeah, it's her. What is she? Oh no, she's a Democrat. Oh no, she's a Republican." That really, and I go back again to my time because we talked about this with I don't know who, I think it was Francis or whatever. It's a different era because in my time it really was not partisan.
Oh.
It was nobody really cared if you were a Republican or a Democrat.
It's friendlier.
It was just really on you pitching what you wanted to do for your, county commission in your area. But then some people now take it to the level like, oh, but what is that person, a Republican or a Democrat?
Yeah, it becomes very important to them. But I think at the end of the day, we got to look at is what is the person doing? Right. What is the person doing? How are their actions? I'm a Republican. I tend to vote Republican in most races. But I think that some of these races in particular should not be politicized. 100%. Or should not, you shouldn't make them partisan because I think it's not going to be helpful to anybody. And quite frankly, from a practical perspective, you want to make sure that you have the ability to win every race. So it might backfire in some cases.
Correct. Yeah, you're 100%. Yeah. I mean, I keep on thinking, in the sense of like, when you say that to people, some people don't want to take you then seriously because then people say, oh, but you know what? He's just pushing that agenda because he's a Republican. Oh, that guy's just pushing that agenda because he's a Democrat. I think that, if you go and you're saying, this is what I want to do for my district, let's say what we're talking about the park, you have a problem with it, call your local commissioner, go. I always tell people, get involved. And
that's one of the most important things that I tell people is, and so many young people come up to me and say, how do you get involved? And I say, volunteer. Volunteering is the best way to get involved. That's how I get involved.
Well, where do you volunteer?
Well, I would say you can call any politician, right? That any of these offices, they all need interns, right? Wow. Any of these elected officials, they all need interns. If you're in high school, you might be able to get some community hours. Yep. And if you're not, you might be able to get paid. It might be a paid internship of some sort. So again, I would volunteer or find a campaign that you like. Find a candidate that you like, the associate, work in it. Yeah, and I think that is the best way to get involved, to get your feet wet into the political world, if that's what you want to do, and to start making connections. And maybe you don't end up in politics, but at the end of the day, these relationships are all helpful in life.
100%.
But you learn because you learn the grassroots. You know what a real, a grassroots campaign really starts at. You know what I'm saying? So it's important.
Yeah. We're going to stump you with this question. Commissioner, give us your 3 favorite spots in your district, within your district. 3 favorite restaurants.
So go-to places.
Perfect. So number 1 for coffee and breakfast in the morning, very simple, Tinti Cafe. I go there almost every single morning.
Never been there.
Yaima at the window is amazing.
Right there.
For lunch, let's see. I would say for lunch, Frenchie's. Frenchie's for lunch or possibly dinner right down the street from here. Amazing. They have a phenomenal team that works there. And if we want to throw something else in the mix, let's see. What else we got out here? We've got...
like a little hole in the wall and nobody really knows
hole in the wall. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to come up with something that's really going to throw you guys off keel. I would say... Let's see...
around your district, anywhere, Miami Springs, Hialeah, Coral Gables,
I would say Trio Cafe in Hialeah. Okay. Which is a great spot as well.
There you go.
Haven't heard of that. Man, those are 3 that I haven't heard of, actually.
There you go. Well, no, Tinti Cafe, yeah. I mean, that's down the street. I mean, spectacular.
Yeah.
Spectacular sandwiches. They had the daily specials really good. The coffee's great.
And French's is right here.
Frenchie's is right back here.
I walk by that place all the time, and I've never been there.
We're trying to keep you within walking radius.
Wow. Yes. Walking radius.
Yeah.
Commissioner, so we have a couple of referendums coming up, okay? That's going to be between, Dade County and the city of Miami. We have about 4 of them. You want to elaborate a little bit on which ones are very important to us right now that we should be looking out to?
Absolutely. I know that countywide, you got one regarding wireless, right? If we want to try to have Wi-Fi, throughout the whole county, which I think could be a good idea. And depending on the cost, it could be a good idea. There's a lot of folks that might not necessarily have the funds. Elon Musk.
That would make sense.
But I think it could be helpful to a lot of underprivileged families, to help them out, to be able to have that internet, as they do homework, as, for seniors that might be trying to communicate. I think it'd be very helpful. I know in the city of Miami, they've got a few interesting ones.
Okay.
I know one of the ones is to do a residency requirement. I think that's obviously very important to make sure people live there if they're going to serve there. Another one I think is to move around the runoffs, because right now the runoff is 2 weeks after the election. So they're trying to make it space it out a little bit more, which I think...
a little bit more time to campaign.
Not just that, it's helpful for the elections department. The elections department, these 2-week runoffs become very difficult. Turning around an election and doing one just 2 weeks later, it's not the easiest thing.
The whole setup and everything is,
Yeah, and then I know they've also got the other 2 that are regarding the leases that you have to do in the city of Miami regarding any lease on waterfront property. And both of those on Watson Island I think are probably great. You've got one that's going to help build out the Baywalk where folks are going to be able to have a promenade and walk along the water, which I think is great.
Yeah.
It's less development than I think it was originally allowed. And on top of all of that, it provides more funding for the city for police, fire, and all sorts of other services.
That would be where Watson Island.
And Watson Island, I think, is where both of those are at. And then you've got a bunch of other cities that have some. But again, I think one of the most important things to do is to inform yourself on these charter referendums, whether it be at the county, at the city, or whatever other municipality. it's important to make sure you're being informed before you vote.
Well, I think that's perfect. And you know what? We want to invite you back every time you got, we try and tell all our politicians come quarterly if you want and give some information, because sometimes you guys really don't have a platform out there. So, if the newspaper doesn't want to pick something up or something doesn't pick up, we have a lot of people always with
also with the news and the media, they give you 2 minutes, 6 minutes, like 10 minutes. It's not like a full-blown conversation.
We'll give you time to explain that. And give the people what they really want to know. And what they want to know.
One last question. Who is your favorite commissioner, apart from yourself?
My favorite commissioner, apart from myself. Well, you can't vote for yourself, right? That'd be
on the county.
You see, he's good at
all the municipalities.
All the municipalities. That's doing a good job.
All municipalities,
or all 13, the districts.
Let's go on the county commission. Yeah. I think I'm going to go with whomever is the chairman, right? Because the chairman decides whether my stuff gets on the agenda.
Good answer. Good answer. Good answer. That's a good answer. Okay, well, thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming on, and that's another segment of Day in Miami, and we are always trying to keep you informed.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.